Oh, I don't like this.
Smile. Smile. You have to smile.
I don't feel like this.
Smile. Smile. Welcome to 10 Points to Ponder, where we like to talk about all the things that get you canceled: race, politics, Jesus, and manhood. Today, I want to talk about a different topic. I want to talk about womanhood. And specifically, I want to kind of recap a video that I did a few weeks ago called Hard Truths from Men. And one of the comments that I got in that video was, when are you going to do the women's version? And so I have here my wife, Jewel, who has been married to me for almost, 18 years? 17. 19 years. We'll edit that part out. So I have here with me my wife Jewel, who has been married to me for 18 years, and we sat up one night just going through some things that she would like to tell women, that are some hard truths that I think people need to learn. And so I'm going to do this video in a little bit different format. I'm just going to ask her some questions, have her elaborate a little bit on the 10 points to ponder, and then wrap it up at the very end. Comment if you like this format of video, because we're pretty much going straight through the 10 points, and just comment to see if this is something that you'd like to see more of, because I can think of a lot of topics where I would like her opinion on. So the first one that Jewel wrote, as far as hard truths for women, is point 1. You will never be perfect. Under this note, it says house, children, and how feminism says that you can have it all.
I think us as women try to make everything perfect. We live in a world of almost perfection in our heads. And so no matter if you're young and you're on social media, you're always comparing yourself and wanting to be perfect. I grew up before social media, so even just looking at, okay, well, their house is always clean. Well, they have this, they wear that, they do this. I guess I have to attain all of those. And you work so hard 24/7 trying to do or get to perfection, but you never can get there. Or one thing is great, you get it at 100%, and then everything else falls to the wayside because you're just one person. And as one person, you can't be perfect at everything.
So, point 2, you say comparison is foolish. Specifically, when you're talking about your house, the mess that sometimes is made, or even how you define yourself.
I think going from perfectionism into comparison is a thing that is a pitfall for women. We always want to compare ourselves. I think nonstop, it's probably going on in the back of our heads. You're taught to compare yourself. And so I think it starts at a very young age where you're like, well, she has that, she looks like that. Oh, she's beautiful. All the boys like her. She's better at sports. She gets the good grades. And it just continues on into adulthood. And if you never realize that God has made you as an individual, and he's individually gifted you, and to just be happy in your own skin and comfortable in your own skin, it just leads to a very empty, tired life, because all you're doing is striving for something that you can't have. and you're never satisfied. And I mean, you can become depressed.
And a lot of young people that are starting out really struggle and end up in all sorts of stress and mental distress because they're trying to compare themselves to what it took their parents 20, 30 years to achieve, when if you're young, guess what, you're supposed to be poor. Like, you're supposed to struggle when you're just starting off a career, or you're just building that business. You're just at the beginning stages of things, and when you're comparing yourself to other people who maybe have made other choices, or people who are older and further advanced, then you find yourself always depressed. Point 3, you said be positive about who you are, both inward and outward. So talk about the inward and outward.
Oh, so you can almost lose yourself, and just be very self-critical, and not okay with yourself. So if you're always trying to be like the person next door, you're not being yourself. You're not happy. You may live your entire life to attain something and never step into what you are gifted to do.
One of the things that I love about you is that you, most of all, are very comfortable with being who you are and not trying to, necessarily fit in with people or change who you are. You're always the same person. How do you find that confidence to do that?
I think a lot of it is just the way that I grew up. I'm half black and I'm half white. I live with my white mom has red hair and blue eyes. I was 5'8" when I was in 4th grade. So I always stood out. I was always different. I grew up in a predominantly, I'd probably say like 50% white, 50% Hispanic community. There was no hiding. There's not much I could change not to stand out. And so I think in that, God really just taught me to be okay with myself. And I mean, there was times that it was definitely hard and it wasn't perfect, but I think you also develop empathy for others. And I think by just treating people by the merit of their character, that comes back to you.
Point 4, stop trying to fix up or create the perfect man.
Yeah, I think women, we like to control everything. And so I think some of you can relate where you have to have your list. I remember some of my friends had like a list of 100 things that their guy had to have. And I made a list. I can say he didn't make all those on my list. Or like pet peeves or different things like that. But you can get caught up. There's that saying that you fall in love. It takes a while. Mm-hmm. Like, you're going to have to fall in love. You're going to have to learn to love the rough edges and to get through those hard times with that person and keep on and stay together and have that commitment to each other. And if you kind of go out here and you're creating this false sense of perfection, everything crumbles as soon as he's not making something on that list. And then it just all blows up. And then what do you have? He's not your perfect man. And then, there's always the things of like when you break up, oh, well, he wasn't right for you. And like all the girlfriends get together. Yeah, it just wasn't right. Yep. We didn't know that it was gonna, we'll just go on. It's all right. And it's like, no, really, you had a big part of why that relationship failed, because your expectations were in tale Hallmark Channel land and not reality.
Point 5. Resist the temptation to manipulate situations. Specifically, notes we have husband and children, and then you also put Lori Loughlin. What does that have to do with anything?
I think women definitely have or can be very manipulative, persuasive, and maybe it can cross the line to be manipulative, where we will get it done. So sometimes we'll try the nagging. That's pretty straightforward,
Yeah.
but that doesn't always work.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see this, I don't know, when I watch all like my dramatic kind of romantic movies, you'll see a lot of times the female character will always be like, all right, we're going to get together with my girlfriends when we're coming up with the plan. We're going to get what we want, whatever needs to happen. We're going to scheme. We're going to change this. We're going to do this. We're going to go here. And all this to kind of get that guy or get the situation. And so one example just off the top of my head is Lori,
Loughlin.
Yeah. From Full House. And it wasn't just her. They talked about a lot of other women, and I know some of them, their husbands were involved, where they wanted their children who were not deserving or didn't work hard, or maybe they didn't have the abilities to get into certain colleges, pay for them to get into those colleges by having someone take their tests or whatever. And that's something almost like us women can do, like, oh, I'm going to get my kid in. I'm going to do this. I will find a way to scheme my way into what I think is right. And obviously that's very destructive. Even those first points of perfectionism and comparing, you can just be trying to keep up with everybody. You're like, I think women do this. Like when we started having kids, they're like, well, what preschool are they going to? What kindergarten? Oh, they can't go there. You have to go here. And anyone that's trying to
advanced kindergarten.
Yes, advanced kindergarten.
Yes.
Like we have to get our kid in. What is advanced kindergarten?
They double stack the Legos.
Like you're paying college tuition prices for preschool. Different things like, oh, I guess I have to go into this. And so from a very young age, you're almost planning out your child's life and trying to maybe live through them. And so it's like, oh my gosh, their grades are slipping. Why don't I go? I can help manipulate this. I'm going to go. You just maneuver your way all the way through without ever even asking your kid, like, do you want to go to college? Is this something that you're even called to be doing? Or is this exactly what parents do?
My plan for your life.
Yeah.
You know, it's not God's plan for your life. I have a plan for your life.
Yeah.
And my mama's going to make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that is the hardest thing. It's scary. I don't think I'm perfect at it. Our kids are kind of getting to the point where they have more freedom, and it's quite scary to think our oldest in 4 years will be an adult. And so
it makes me
I want to control everything and do, but I realize he has to go out and learn to be a man and make his own decisions, and I can't always come in and save him. And that's what sometimes that we want to do. Like, we're going to save the situation by manipulating, and we go too far rather than maybe staying on the side of just being persuasive and not crossing the line.
Just trying to guide. It says you have not because you ask not. But when you ask amiss that you may spend it on your own pleasures.
I think also, like, last thing, like, women, we can also do that in our marriage where, no, husband, you have to have this job. We have to live this house. We have to be in this neighborhood because this is a neighborhood with advanced kindergarten
Mm-hmm.
or whatever.
Yep.
So like you must slave away. It's okay if we see you twice a month
Yep.
because you're traveling
Yep.
or get another job or this or that, because we have to be here and we have to have all these things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've seen that a lot where you end up having a lot of nice things but totally stressed because you can't afford it, or just the relationship of from the marriage relationship to your kids even knowing who your husband is.
Yeah, that's rough. Speaking of that, point 6, only Jesus can fulfill, and whether you're married or single, you can only be fulfilled by the Lord.
Yes. I think you almost may have to repeat this to yourself again and again and almost meditate on the word of God that he is the only one that can fulfill you. We can go to everything. We can look and go, well, if we only had this, if we only had that, if I was only married, if I only had a husband that listened to me, if I only had this, if I only, and not even realizing who you're trying to compare yourself to, they're struggling, and it's a fake.
It's a facade.
It's a facade.
Right? It's idolatry overall, right? If you're single, you're idolizing marriage, and you're saying that this is my God. Like once I have this husband that cares for me, now I'm fully fulfilled. When she could say that when you have the husband, you're still gonna have some struggles.
I mean, some of the loneliest people are married and have people all around them. Like you even look at, I don't know how many stars. I was just listening like Justin Bieber, and doesn't he have a song like he talks about everyone's around him and he's so lonely. Yeah, he's lonely.
Lonely.
But it's so true. Like you hear of all these people that have attained so much and they're lonely. They have everything. And so your trust, your hope, your foundation has to be in Christ, or you will feel lonely, you will feel distraught, and Satan will kind of just take over, like, oh, it's better if you just have this, if you just have that, and you will just waste your lifetime obtaining things that you couldn't actually grasp.
Perfect. Point 7, what you put, that it's okay to embrace femininity, nurturing children, or staying home, or not staying home. It's all okay. What do you mean by that?
I think, when you say feminism, femininity, it's been hijacked by culture. There's so many different definitions out there that it can get very confusing. But I think it's just coming back home to the fact that, hey, God has created me as a woman, and I want to embrace that. And some women are very, very girly or diva, or, they're going to take an hour and a half to get their hair done and their makeup done every day. And some women are going to kind of be rough and tough and, not wear makeup a day in their life. But you're still a woman, and there's still, I think, those softer sides, those nurturing sides. And I think, I know we can step into that wherever you may fall in the spectrum and not be embarrassed to be a woman.
Yeah.
And to be, sometimes we're gentler. We may be weaker. We may be more emotional, and that's okay. It's just all these lines in society of like, oh, you can't do that right now, or you can't do that, or that's not a woman, or the over femininity that like I need to be half naked on the stage, and that's my body positivity.
That's being feminism,
and
feminist.
Everything is hanging out.
It's being naked.
Yeah, being naked,
which is an interesting reversal
and so
of terms. I'm showing my power by showing my body. Now all of a sudden, because I'm a woman, I just give it away. It's interesting.
The world always has a counterfeit of what Christ has. And so Christ says, we're created in his image, and that he did not make a mistake when we were formed in the womb of our mother. And so yes, we should embrace that in who we are. Mm-hmm. And that kind of goes into, like, when I say embracing your femininity, you may be a 90-pound lady that doesn't have hardly any curves, or you may be a very big and voluptuous, curvy woman, and to embrace that and be okay where you're at, but not going to that line of like, all right, now I gotta flaunt it and do this and just look at our culture, just look at the Grammys, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. Maybe all you wanted to do is be a mother. You didn't want to go to college. You didn't want to, like, all you want to do is to be able to have a family and kids and raise them. And you want to cook and, be home and clean and make sandwiches for your husband. And hey, go for it. And you may also say, hey, I want to be a professional. I want to go to college. I want to have a career. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a businesswoman. I want to pursue all that. Then, go for it. I think a lot of times it gets very polarizing, and people want to say, oh, well, you're a Christian. You're one of those stay-at-home, homeschool type of moms, right? Yep. Well, I never can do this because I have this and this. And then, like, the profession, but no, God can gift you, and you could do many, many different things. You may be running a business at home while your kids are, yelling and screaming in the background.
Point 8, I think you already touched on some of it. You said women are not the same as men. Or simply put, you cannot have it all.
Be yourself. For whatever reason in our woke culture, they're teaching you can't be yourself if this week it's offensive or this week it's uncool. And just be yourself. Be a woman wherever you may be, as we discussed. If you're very emotional and you love to wear very, what they say is girly, or you're more on the other side. Like, I have one of my friends and she's a mechanic, and I was like, wait, what? And she works on airplanes. So I was like, wait, wow, mm-hmm. You could do that? Yeah, God's gifted us in different places. Just step into what God has gifted you to be, mm-hmm. and be okay where you're at, and you don't have to change. And at the same side, you don't have to be like, well, if I'm going to be, have a career, then I have to act just like the guys. And mm-hmm. I have to just be, extra tough and be known as this. I think when you follow Christ and you go on his path and he leads and directs, he's going to open the doors that need to be open, close the doors that need to be closed. And you don't have to kind of put on this armor that is meant for a guy. Just be yourself and still be in God's will, and you're gonna have success.
Point 9, worrying about things, specifically I think with COVID, with this pandemic and the year that we've had, people locking themselves down, mothers, mothering every single person, and the state almost taking on the same role as an abusive mother, which I talked about in an earlier video.
Women worry. I think it's just part of our nature that we want to take care of our children, our family, our friends, and that protective almost undertone that's just in us. And so you just want to control any variable so no one can get hurt. No one can, go through what you have gone through. And it can be a huge problem or a handicap to your kids. I always was, when our kids were little and we'd do play dates, there was always the helicopter moms, and you're just like, oh my gosh, you haven't let your child do anything.
Yeah.
And 2020 definitely exposed that, and I mean, in the beginning, none of us knew what was going on. And so I think all of us were like, oh my gosh, go buy toilet paper. Because I don't know why. Probably one mom was in line at Costco and was buying toilet paper, and the next mom bought toilet paper, and somehow it became a national obsession, and there was none left. But it just became, I think now, with everything that we know, and just the safety theater and the inconsistencies of this is safe but this is not safe.
Yes.
But women, unfortunately, I think we need to take a step back, because we can't control anything. We have to give it to God, and God is in control.
Point 10, you say hard truths for women. Do an emotional check. You need to take a break and get plugged in with women or a group of godly women.
Definitely. I think we can go so hard, so long that we never take a break. Like, maybe it could be as simple as, like, you actually need to sit down and you need to eat some food, or you may need some coffee. I find out probably coffee or food can change the world for me.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, it just feeds you. And so sometimes it may just be that, but also getting away, doing women's retreats. I work out, like getting that gym time is like this awesome. And so you have to take those times away, and then to be encouraged by other women. Sometimes just being able to talk with like-minded people. Be careful that you don't get into complaining or gossiping, because I feel like those are pitfalls for women. But actually a time of encouraging and talking. I remember when I was really young with women, some women's group, and I was just like, how do you keep your house clean? And they all laughed, and they're like, well, parts are clean at certain times, or I know the floor is sanitized under all the toys that my kids just threw out. And I was like, wait, what? So there's little things like that you don't even realize, or you don't know unless you have those times. I remember when our kids were really young, and I'd go to a women's retreat, and they'd be like, why are you leaving us for a weekend? And I was like, because we need this. And even I'd say marriage retreats, sometimes
just getting away,
getting a hotel, a staycation, and the kids are like, why are you going to a hotel, in the town over? And I was like, because
who cares? Yes, to get away from you. No, I don't say that. Go ahead.
You may. Joking. But you have to have those times where you just take a break. And if you don't, you're just going to you're going to wear really, really thin, and you're going to end up saying or doing things that you really, really regret.
Yeah. This has been 10 Points to Ponder. My name is Ali Shuaga. This is Jewel Shuaga. Please make sure that you comment on if you like this video format, if you'd like to see us talk about a few other topics, or any general thoughts that you might have on what we talked about. But this has been 10 Hard Truths for Women, and this has been 10 Points to Ponder.